Ours is a balanced plan that could pass the Senate. Our bill should win the support of Republicans and Democrats alike, and now the choice is up to senators.
Senator Max Baucus got the score he was looking for from the CBO and doing a little cheerleading on the Senate floor.
And it should get the vote of Republicans and Democrats. Mark those words, Senator Baucus. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political news, headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And we're into providing this pre-lunch sustenance, but we can keep it going all day long. It's twitter.com/thenote.
Although today Twitter's a little bit on the fritz, so that'll kick us off. What is your top line?
All right. Shoot and score. Finally, the Congressional Budget Office with some good news for Democrats who want health care reform. The score is in from the CBO, and it is $829 billion over 10 years. That sounds like a lot, but it falls within President Obama's range. And most importantly, in terms of selling this, David, the CBO saying if you do everything you say you're going to do, this will actually save money. It will cut into the deficit.
One of the president's red lines, Olympia Snowe, that key Republican vote, says she's relieved of what this price tag is. Of course, it's scoring a bill that will not be on the Senate floor because it's not just the Finance Committee bill that will be on the floor. So Republicans are being very clear about that. Family tree, fascinating reporting out of the New York Times. Michelle Obama, the First Lady of the United States, is learning about her family tree as we're learning about it as well, due to the New York Times reporting. They built this whole family tree, and not uncommon, obviously, but there is some history of slaveholders and slaves in her family creating children and moving forward with a lineage that is part of sort of America's tapestry and our checkered past.
It is quintessentially African-American history. There are so many families that are in exactly that situation, and the fact that she'd learn about white relatives in her background from the New York Times is just, it's just great. I mean, it's interesting because it's a window up to society, a mirror for all of us to reflect on.
And so different from the president's history of his biracial history that we learned so much about.
Yes. Next, we have the non-stimulus stimulus. When is a stimulus bill, David, not a stimulus? When you don't call it one. Democrats are looking for ways to get the economy moving again, but they will not use the S word. No matter what, this is not stimulus, David, so we just have to get that out of our lexicon entirely. This is energizing. This is patching some holes, perhaps, on employment benefits, homeowner tax credits, and the like.
Those things you just said, Rick, they seem to have been in what we previously called a stimulus bill.
This is what I was worried about. You're getting it wrong. It's not a stimulus.
Hoop dreams. Yes, President Obama finding some time to play some basketball today with some cabinet members. I don't think there are any female members on the roster. There you see him on Martha's Vineyard in action there, and press aide Ben Finkenbinder there in the background up there on Martha's Vineyard. But the president will be partaking in his favorite activity at the White House today. It seems a little odd in the middle of all of this Afghanistan war planning, healthcare, that he's taken some time for basketball, right?
And I love that. That was the only photo we got out of his game at Martha's Vineyard, and he is old school in that picture. I don't want one shot of the President of the United States like taking it to the chin, like a hard check maybe, or just a brick. I mean, just something that says, you know what, he's a street baller, not an NBA player.
I don't think that's in David Axelrod's game plan to release that kind of photo. We're going to begin with all the politics of the week. We're joined here by Politico's Jonathan Martin, as we are each Thursday. Sir, thank you for being here. We greatly appreciate it. Let's start with healthcare and the news up on Capitol Hill briefly. This, no doubt, good news that the president was looking for, and they got it. But the Republicans have a point. This is not the bill that will actually be on the floor.
Right, because they're going to have to marry this with the bill from the Health Committee as well. But Democrats know that, don't care. It's about symbolism. It's about selling this thing. It's about the idea of progress. And I think if you look at it through that lens, it is huge. The fact that this thing's below $1 trillion, it actually saves money. Shoots and scores indeed. This is a big deal. She got the nice Snow comment as well, so you might get her over. Look, this is a White House and a Democratic Congress that are looking for victories on health care. Okay, if it's Michael Bloomberg, if it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, if it's a good CBO score, they'll take it.
And if you look at it from the other direction, if the score had come back and it had been $1.1 trillion,
can you imagine the pushback? Right.
I mean, we could.
Well, I remember the first time that we got a CBO score, and the sort of sticker shock was one of those issues that is cited, if you look at the sort of early history, as what caused them so many problems early on.
Yeah. Now the pressure is going to be on for them to bring something to the floor. Nancy Pelosi had a press conference this morning where she says we're very close to 218 for a robust public option, but that may not be what they put on the floor, despite the fact that liberals are making a lot of noise.
Well, I think they're going to get 218. Whether or not they have a robust public option or not so robust public option.
They can get the votes in the House, sure.
They can get the votes in the House. That has never been the issue, has it? I mean, I just don't think that that's going to be the problem. I think we're still focused on what's going to happen in the Senate. Are there going to be any Republicans beyond Snow? Is she even going to vote for it? What are the sort of defections going to look like, if there are any, from the Democratic caucus?
Can I turn your attention to electoral politics here in 2009?
If you have to.
Thank you. I know how you hate that. You wrote a great story over the weekend about the Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial races, and it seemed to be, in my read of your story, that you think that Corzine may be okay, or Democrats think that Corzine may be okay in New Jersey, and that McConnell is starting to put away Virginia to some degree. We're still 3.5 weeks out, but do you see these races settling down on that? And
yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too predictive in my reporting, and we are ways away from Election Day. Both campaigns, David, still have debates to come. Things can change. But my reporting of talking to senior national Democrats is a sort of marked shift in their thinking from this summer, where they were deeply concerned about Governor John Corzine's prospects in New Jersey. Now it's just the opposite. They're feeling better about Corzine. They think Jersey is being Jersey, and you know what I'm talking about, David. And that is, these voters, sort of center-left voters, are coming home. They're coming back to the Democrat. The leaves turn. Football's being played. That's what's happening there. But they are very concerned about Virginia for a lot of reasons, but namely because they think the candidate and the campaign being run there on the Democratic side is just not up to snuff, and that he is not sort of running an effective campaign against what they say is a pretty darn good GOP opponent this time around. So that's sort of where they see things. But we have so much sort of game to play here still, I think, on both sides.
What's interesting, too, you wrote about this as well. Creed Deeds is setting up, though, the post-game analysis that's going to be blaming national Democrats for a loss. In one level, you say, okay, Virginia always goes against the presidential election. That's been going on for decades. But if Creed Deeds comes out of this and says, you know, it's Washington Democrats' fault, that's a difficult storyline.
He did, actually, both candidates did an interview with Politico and Channel 7, the ABC affiliate here in Washington, D.C., and it was striking, I thought, what Creed Deeds was saying when asked about what's going on in the campaign. He was sort of doing some of that retrospective analysis that, of course, consultants and operatives hate their candidates to do, but, you know, citing two things. First of all, the tough national environment and the issue of spending, which is on a lot of voters' minds, especially in Virginia, but also the fact that he had a primary, and that, you know, McDonald, the Republican candidate, didn't have a primary, was able all spring and summer to sort of stockpile money and set his own public image, while Deeds was out there scrapping and battling two other candidates to get the nomination. So the first signs of sort of post-game analysis as to what happened, which of course nobody likes to see their candidate doing during the campaign.
But Jonathan, how much can we really learn from two states
Right.
in 2009 about what this means, and how much is this just folks in our business just trying to, you know, draw sweeping, broad conclusions about what this means nationally?
At the risk of indicting myself, because I'm sure I'll be one of those guys writing those stories,
talking about it with us,
felling
too.
veritable trees here in the weeks ahead. Absolutely, take it with a grain of salt. These are two governors' races that have unique circumstances, certainly in both contests. But it is the only thing we have. It's the only window we have electorally, so we're going to sort of go on it. I don't think we can take much from the New York race. It's so different this time around. But so these two...
Fascinating in its own
Fascinating,
way.
fascinating, certainly. But I think these two governors' races do offer the only window that we have onto what's happening politically out there in the country right now.
And briefly on Afghanistan, the president has gathered lots of meetings and he's continuing this. This is just such a long and drawn out process. I mean, is the end game here going to be something that they're going to be able to sell, or are they going to have a lot of people from both sides of the aisle really critical of this?
I think we're starting to see the sale right now. I mean, there's a great story today in the Times by Peter Baker, who is very plugged in, talking about the beginnings of a new strategy, and not just a strategy as far as a war strategy, but a PR strategy, too, of how to sell what we're doing over there, which is now, as far as Peter's reporting, going after al-Qaeda. And this is less about the Taliban and more about taking out al-Qaeda, focusing on Pakistan as well. And I think that may be a shift. And if that's the case, then it certainly seems like the president is not going to approve General McChrystal's request for, 40,000 more ground troops, right?
It does,
or at least not all of them.
Right, and our Martha Raddatz is reporting now that the 40,000 number is sort of the middle of the road option for McChrystal. Like, the three options he's going to present to the president in what has now been passed over, she's just reporting this now, is that it's no increase whatsoever, 40,000, or a substantial increase. All of a sudden, 40,000 is the middle of the road.
And if that's the case, then it seems like he's going with option A, maybe.
which is also going to, as Rick said, I think draw critiques
huge
from,
political blow
Yeah,
back
I mean that's
on the right.
going to be a tough issue for him.
A tough sell on the right, but also with some of those hawkish Democrats in his own party as well.
Right.
It'd be very
But
nice
that's
to
the
see
way.
what
That's the way that
happens.
they're setting it up now. Though.
It seems like it, absolutely.
Yeah.
And guys, can I just add real fast?
Sure.
The president playing basketball, how does that work? Can those members of Congress call a foul on the president?
They can.
I mean, is that
I
allowed?
bet they can.
Separation of powers.
Is anybody
No,
going to do
no,
that
it's in
at
the
all?
Constitution. You
You
can't do
know?
that.
It was all ball. It was
Politico's
all
Jonathan
ball.
Martin. Thank you very much for
Thanks,
being here.
guys.
We appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.